This is William from Before the Billions. I'm so glad to have you guys here. We have a special guest today. Special guest in the building. He is a security compliance analyst, has over 30 years of experience. So I know that you guys will gain a lot of knowledge from this brother right here. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce our special guest of the day. We have Professor Black Ops. Can you guys hear and or see us? Put a one in the chat if you can hear and or see us.
Thanks for having me. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. So that being said, we're gonna have a great session today. We will have a call-in session. I see Gail already asking what the call-in link is going to be, or the actual, what you call it, the code. Pull the code over and let me type it in, so that way you guys will be able to call in. You will be in the waiting room for a little while as we go through the discussion. As you know, that's what I like for these interviews to be, is discussions. I want them to be discussions. So I put the meeting code, if it does require you to have a meeting code, into the chat. All right, great. So Professor Black Ops, it's a pleasure to have you on the channel. I know you've been on the channel before, and I know that we're going to have a good discussion based off of a lot of our previous conversations. So with that being said, Professor Black Ops, do you mind telling us who you are and what you work on?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the short version. My YouTube, of course, is Professor Black Ops. I am actually a federal cybersecurity analyst. I've been doing cybersecurity for 15 years. So let me rewind a little bit. I got my bachelor's in computer science in 1990, and I got my MBA in 1995. I currently work for a small consulting firm, and they send me to large companies, and I help them with federal compliance, like HIPAA compliance, OSHA compliance, IRS compliance, and FISMA's DoD government compliance. So those are the things I work on day to day. My job is to work with the various teams. You know, you're in the technology, so I work with programmers, DBA, SAs, Cisco guys, because when we report to federal compliance, we need about 1,200 pages of documentation because it's called an ATO. So when you take a system and you say you want it to be HIPAA or OSHA or especially DoD compliance, ATO is called authority to operate. So my job is to make sure the systems are secure. All the executives sign out. We turn the ATO to the government, and they give us an authority to operate. Then everybody cheer. So that's what I do at a high level.
Yes, sir. So also, I want to give this disclaimer as well, is that if you join in on the Zoom link, please make sure that you have your correct name and or the name that you use for like your YouTube. If you don't want to use your actual name, just want to make sure that you guys do not dox yourself. This video will not be taken down if you put your actual name up and your government name is showing. So please make sure when you click on the Zoom link that you're using the name that you want to be called on the panel and shown on the channel. So that being said, let's continue on with the video.
You can right click on it and change the name. You can right click on yourself at the top and you can type the name you want it to be in there.
Right. So also thank you all to everybody who's coming into the chat to support me and Professor Black Ops. I really do appreciate that. All right, so Professor Black Ops, I am going to ask you a question, and it is related to the Facebook outage. So what are your thoughts on the Facebook outage? I know that they put out a statement saying that there was a configuration issue on their side as far as their databases that led to a cascading effect that took out all of their social media, such as Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's fun. You asked. I actually did a video from a cybersecurity perspective. But long story, they did a rollout. It's actually to the routers and their switches. They did it's called a BGP update. It stands for Border Gateway Protocol. And what that protocol does is it makes sure your inside routers and gateway can talk to the internet. So it's supposed to be some simple patch. But what happened was, I think three of their routers wasn't up to date. So they actually start spinning out all this traffic. And long story short is each router signals to another router that, hey, I'm here. Then the other router signals to this router. Then long story short, when your traffic goes through, it figures out the shortest way to get to that database or that data. But since that PGP kept spewing information out, it overran and overloaded all their switches, and they just went totally dark for 6 hours. So they were scrambling in that. Then like I said, from a cybersecurity perspective, and I've been in there, when you go dark, you're trying to figure out, okay, was it, like you said, a PGP, or are you getting attacked by Russia or China? So when it first happens, you go dark, it's called incident response. You're trying to figure out what happened. Like what happened with the PGP, that's a regular operational issue. But when it happens, you don't know, okay, are we getting hacked? Is it ransomware? Is it denial of service? Or was it a patch? So that's kind of what happened at a higher level.
Yes, sir. And I'm glad you went into that. But now I want to go ahead, because that's like the trending topic, right? But now I want to go ahead and go into more of your experience and also some of your opinions as well on how do you become a security compliance analyst?
Um, that's one of those jobs I just kind of ended up into. How you actually do is security compliance at the top of it is just basically auditing your computer systems to make sure, once again, when you're applying for federal certifications, you got to give them documentation. So when you do compliance, right, you talking about every system in there, your routers, your switches. How I actually got in there is I was working at DoD at the time. I worked at DoD for 11 years. I was running the web and application team. And the checks they gave me to actually make sure we secure and compass it, I started doing that from a technical level. I did it from an Oracle database, Tomcat, and Apache server. So as I did it for my team and those applications, my bosses start sending me the other organization and other teams at DoD. So I start picking up more and more information. Then executives start coming to me asking me about that documentation. Okay, are we right? Then it's called, okay, I can't do this security check, but it's called a compensated control. What can I do different that's cheaper that can make us more secure? Right. So you got to type it all up and give it to the government. So I was doing all that stuff. They were taking my recommendations. We were passing the ATO. So then I just kind of grew in that position. Then one of my other bosses became a chief information officer at another company, and she invited me in to come work for her, and I kind of ran the technical side of that for a while. So that's kind of how I kind of fell into it because I was doing the technical part. Then they just, since I was filling out the paperwork, I started helping them fill out paperwork for the whole organization because I just got kind of comfortable with all the pieces of that. And long story short, I've been a programmer, DBA, web server, app server, business analyst, even though I suck at writing. So I've done kind of like everything over my 30 years in IT. So with that broad knowledge, that kind of helps me do compliance for a whole system and a whole agency and a whole company. So that's kind of the high level how I got into that.
Right. So you said that you had so many things put together. So some will call you like a jack of all trades in that sense because
Facts.
you have so much knowledge.
Yeah, we got to talk about that. I try to put them together. I understand I'm a jack of I'll trade of everything, but I focus on a few things because I'm trying to get the bag. Because my man Black Hike said $100,000 with no money, but we're gonna talk about that later. So I do specialize in a few things, but yeah, but as you grow into it, as you do those jobs, those skills don't disappear. So I programmed for 15 years. I was a Oracle DBA for 5 years. I did Apache and Tomcat because I was doing Java and I was spinning on my own application. So as you do that, you build on your skill set, right? And as I build on my skill set, I ask for more money. So it's just time and grind, just time and grind.
Yes,
I think I'm gonna put that on the shirt, man. Time and grind.
Time and grind. So I believe that they say it takes 10,000 hours. Correct me if I'm wrong. In order to master something.
That is true. I believe that, and I put in a lot of hours because I was labbing every day before that was even a thing. I had my own 5-node network in my house in 2005. Before that was really cloud, I had to set up a 5-node network in my house, and I was practicing security. And like I said, I've been in different jobs. And the cool thing is when you work on big federal contracts, a lot of people are lazy in their fat weight. So if you want to learn something, people will let you learn it. So I was like, I want to learn Java and Apache. They were like, oh yeah, you can learn it. So they just put me in a box and I just kind of taught myself. Like I said, because I got a computer science undergrad, so I just kind of taught myself those languages and build them and, kind of put them in test environments, and we start using them at the job. So like I said, they just stacked on them and just build those skills up.
Yes, sir. So, something, just out of that, I've gotten a few questions, right? Is
Sure.
that so do you think that your degree has helped prepare you for your career, or do you think that it was something inside of you that made you want to put in more effort that helped you with your career?
Now that's the common question we've been arguing about lately. Degrees, certs, or you, right? So that's it. I think it really has to be in you, right, to want it, to go get it, and to grind it. Because now is 15 years ago, I would say a degree, but there's so many ways to learn. You can go to Udemy. People got YouTube channels. People got courses you can buy that I think are equivalent to degrees you can get in college. So some of that has to be you, right? You can get certifications now. There's just so many ways to get into the IT cybersecurity game, but it has to start with you because for you to learn and before you want to learn, some of that stuff is going to be harder. You're going to have to grind. You're going to have to search people out. You're going to have to set up your lab. You're going to fail. You're going to, like you just talked about, Facebook is $1 billion company with the greatest people on the planet. Hell, they locked out all their stuff out on our planet. So you're going to make mistakes, right? You just got to push through and keep grinding. So it starts with you. So.
Most definitely. And another thing that you brought up, so you remember I had a interview with somebody who was a business analyst as well.
Yeah.
And
I jumped on there.
You said that you were also used to be a business analyst, and also you were into project management. Is that correct?
Yeah. I suck at it, but yeah, I've been into it. Yeah, it's not my strength, but I've been into it.
Right. So, what actually made you realize, like, okay, what did you want to focus on? Was it? So I know that you said that you moved around to multiple different roles. What made you actually switch from being a programmer to then becoming a business analyst and/or project manager, and then going into the cybersecurity space? What actually made you make that decision to change your career?
It's weird. When I was at DoD, it's weird. I didn't change my career to cybersecurity. What happened is, since I was managing web server and app server, they started teaching us security, right? Because long story short is it's called DISA. And 2010, they came in and they wanted DoD to get tighter on security. So they brought some of their best guys into, because I was working in the finance ring, and I was, like I said, I was doing Apache, Tomcat, and Linux. So they were coming in showing, okay, these are the checks you need to do. This is how you lock down. This is how the red team gonna attack you. So as they showing me how to do my job better, it just happened to be security. It wasn't a hot thing. It was like, okay, we got these machines, we got to lock them down because China's trying to hack them. I didn't realize I'm getting cybersecurity skills, and that's going to be the next big bag. Currently, when I was doing it, it was like, okay, I'm just doing my job, right? So then after I did it 3 or 4 years, it was like, oh, the lady left. She goes, oh, you're a cybersecurity guy. I want you to come with me. I'm like, oh, I'm a cybersecurity guy. I'm like, okay. Because to me, as part of my job as a web server and application, I was just doing my job. I want to get better. I want to lock down, and I want to make sure none of my boxes got hacked. Like I said, I didn't know I was getting the new skills for the next job. It just kind of fell into my lap, to be honest.
Do you think that happens a lot in the tech space? Is that maybe?
Yeah. I was talking to some other people. Is a lot of times is you getting new skills, and your company says, okay, we heard about the cloud. Check into the cloud. Then while you doing it, you getting cloud skills up, you getting back to cloud. The next thing you know is clouds are the next hot thing, right? But then sometimes I think you can be more intentional. But a lot of times when you're on your job, if you're at a good company that's just trying to grow, they trying to get the next big thing. A lot of two is, I tell people at least be a consultant for a while. when I was at the consulting agency, there was consultants from bigger companies, different skill sets, and those older guys. Now I'm old. They would just share so much information. I work with the Oracle guys, the Booz Allen guys, the IBM guys. I was wearing wingtips in 1988, trying to hang out with the IBM consultants. You just learn from those guys because they're like, man, I'm gonna be here 2 years. What you want to know? So like we talked about, I'm trying to learn it all because your bill rate's $300 an hour. So I'm trying to figure out what you know so I can get that bag, right? So a lot of times is you being you want to learn more, you grind, you pick those skills up.
Right. So, and with that, you have been in multiple different types of roles, such as a contract position and also a full-time position. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, what would you say the differences between those two roles would be?
Depending on the company, a lot of times it's usually from a consultant roles, people paying you a high bill rate. So you got to be at a certain level. You got to be good. And if something goes wrong, they're looking at you because you're the consultant that's supposed to keep us out of trouble. You're supposed to keep our database running at a certain speed, our Apache server. And if we're doing something new, you as a consultant, right? Because they're paying your company X amount and you're getting like 50 or 60% of that amount, right? So that from is different. Right. FTE is a little bit, course too, is depending on your role. A lot of times it's like, okay, he's a full-time. We're going to train him. We're going to make sure he has, good stuff. We're going to make sure he has benefits. We're going to invite him to the Christmas party. We're going to give him a bonus. Consultant, they don't give a shit about you. You mess up or they lose money, you be fired tomorrow. So that's the big difference. A lot of it is security and stability. I don't think that's a word, but stable. So those are the two differences. Because I've seen 60 grown men walked out. Something blew up on a Wednesday, and they were all, true story, escorted out on a Friday with grown men crying. So there's a huge difference. So
yes. So and with that, I will say that also the difference between a contractor and a full-time employee is that it has a different difference to the company as well, depending on if you're a W-2 or a 1099.
Yeah, I've been first. The first time I went 1099 and I had my own company, that's when you're aware of both sides of taxes. My tax bill one quarter was 11 grand, and I was super shocked. I was like, they was like, oh, your company usually pay half. You got to pay both sides of that taxes, right? When you got your own company, so.
Exactly. And with that, so I made a video, and it was titled "One of the Worst Things About Coding Jobs." Now, speaking with you, you may have changed my mind, and I may have been wrong about something. So one of the worst things I said was being a contractor when you want to become full time. So like it's the difference between like if you want to be a contractor, it's cool. Right. But then if you want to be full time, but then you're kind of stuck with being contracted position because the company would rather not give you, not give you whatever benefit that you would get as a full time employee. Do you think I was? Okay.
No, my fault. But see, those are two different kinds of contractor. You trying to be contractor hire because you want to be a full-time employee. But you got to remember when you were a seasoned contractor at a high level, you work for Booz Allen, all those guys are making, 150, 160. They probably working 10 hours a day. So the pay rate's going to be different too and how you treat it. Because a lot of times when you do contract for hire like that, they're just bringing you on because they're testing to see if you're going to be a contractor. Right. So that's a little different being contractor hired than actually being a seasoned contractor. Right. When you're a seasoned contractor, right, like I said, you coming at a high level, you dealing with executives, people are looking for you, and you command a certain authority because you got those years behind them. Now, granted, I've seen some horrible contractors I thought I was getting billed too much and they were crap. But those are different. And even inside theirs, like we always said, there's levels to this. Like I've been contract for hire too, where I was making a little more money, but it wasn't enough for, it would have been more advantageous for me to work for the company and it's more secure. Right now, I'm a contractor. I work for a contract company. So theoretically, if my contract ends, they might put me on another assignment. Right. But there's a pay difference there that makes it worth my while to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is that sometimes when you are a contract to hire, not only are you, it's not like it's like life-changing amounts of money that you're getting compared to a full-time employee. But then it's like, you got to kind of take a little bit more risk with, like, hey, if they're letting go of people, you know, then you're gonna be on the chopping block. I think that she's also said uh, before in one of our previous live streams that when somebody is like, or let's say a company is letting go of people, who are the first people to go?
Contractors. We just let go where I work. We let go 30 contractors, and me and one other guy's only guys left because they're winding down. Their budgets got cut, and they just told me, which I already knew, wasn't surprised. They want me to roll because they're getting a big audit in March, so they want me to stay till June, and they're not going to re-sign my contract. My current supervisor, he was freaking out. I was like, dude, I already knew that coming because if you letting go FTEs, dude, you gotta have a super good reason to keep a contractor around. I mean, I've been in this game a long time, so I wasn't surprised. Like you said, I've been reaching out to my network, and like I said, Black Heights got me thinking a little differently with the numbers he's throwing out. So I'm kind of reevaluating some stuff on how I'm gonna move a little differently now. Talking to them, and shout out to the women in Linux. They throwing out accredited investor numbers. So even at my age, I'm thinking a little differently, to be honest. So
right. So and also wanted to go and kind of go back to the actual topic, which is what are some of the challenges of being a security compliance analyst?
Challenges as getting in, or when you in the job, or all of the above.
With being when you're already in the job, what are some of the challenges? What are some of the tasks that you face during the day-to-day basis?
As a developer, is especially when you first go in an organization and not used to security. I'm asking people to make changes of things they've been doing for 20 years. Oh, we've been doing that for 20 years. Yeah, but Kaseya's got hacked by Russia. That's how they got hacked. I need you to make this change in your pipeline. I need your agile team to make this change. Well, we've been doing this for 2 years. Okay, I can tell the president, you're not listening to me. So mind shift, getting people ready. As you well know, as a developer, when you do something a certain way for 10 years and you got 20, 50 people doing that, to make a little change can be big, even if it's for security, right? So I got to explain to you the benefits of the change, so us as an organization to agree to that, right? So that's one of my big changes. And even for some of the CEOs and CIOs, basically I did a security review and I said WebEx was a piece of crap. So I had 4 executives tell me there's 500 Fortune 500 companies using this. Why can't we use it? So I wrote it up, laid it out, typed it up, and I gave it to them, and I laid it out. And I always tell them, I give you security advice. I give you security risk. You as an executive have to accept the risk. If you want to use the software, you can. But if we get hacked, I got in the email, I told you this, but in your email, you said, no, I got it, right? You can assume the risk. So just talking about securing an organization, even at all levels, like I said, from development, CEOs, managers have been doing stuff a certain way. Mm-hmm. Then when you talk about compliance, the government might put out a new regulation or requirement that I got to tell a company, then they think it's this huge change. I'm like, it's not even me, it's the government. So that mind shift, getting procedures and getting buy-in. Now, when I tell an organization something, I've been there 10 years, they're like, okay, cool, we got it. But the first couple of years, man, it was a battle. It's like turning a battleship. It takes a while to turn it because, security 10 years ago was kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. But now, as you see, we get hacked every day, every week, every hour. So it makes it a little different. But mindset, training, and getting everybody on board, and even getting executives on board, right? Because I tell somebody up, they run their manager, then their manager come and see me. So, right, it's just getting that mindset. The 2 is you got to have credibility, right? You got to build up your credibility. People got to trust you. It just take time and even years to build that up sometimes.
Most definitely. And with that, you brought up that people get hacked all the time. Mm-hmm. And why? I also have 2 questions actually. But the first one is, what tips do you give just the everyday regular person on how they can better protect themselves from their data being used for various purposes?
The first thing I tell everybody, the first thing is, whatever you do, think about if somebody hacks, right? So if you got cameras inside your house, which is cool, watching your baby and your babysitter, if I hack that and you come through there naked, do I got a picture of you? Right? If you want to put your Nest, which controls your heat on the internet, so you can cut up and cut down your heat. If I hack that and I cut your heat up to 150 and you gone on vacation, your house could catch on fire or blow up, or at least you're gonna have a high heat bill, right? So just think, when you put stuff on the internet, or you cool, if a hacker gets his hand on it, what's the ramifications to you? So, right, because you now the CEO of your life, you have to set the risk of you using those devices, right? So any device. A quick story is, there was Marines in a super secret base. They had this special Fitbit. They were running around the base in competition with people around the world. The Fitbit drew a picture around the super secret base and they posted to the internet. So somebody in FBI goes, what is that circle in Turkey? That was a super secret base, because they were competing running around the base, right? So you got to think about some small as that could be leaking information you don't want out to people.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then most people have a lot of information on the internet. A lot of people overshare a lot of things. Like they put out their birthday, they put out their full name, and then all it takes is for somebody to figure out their social security number, and then they have pretty much identity fraud.
Your social security's on the dark web. I can buy it for $2. So I would throw that out, because you got to think all the hacks been hacking. Equifax got hacked. That has 60% of the United States information in it for credit. Mm-hmm. So not your information's on the dark web, but but your generation does overshare. You've seen families argue on Facebook talking about personal stuff. Like, why don't you call them? They're physically arguing, putting dirt on Facebook, right? So people are definitely oversharing.
Most definitely. We have a question from Peter, Investor M. Thank you so much, Peter. Peter asks, what are some of the simple security tips to protect your password?
Complexity, make it a little longer and put some special characters in it, some exclamation points, some at codes. I do federal security. I do federal cybersecurity. People hated me. The organization I went to, I made their password 14 characters, 2 upper, 2 lower, and 2 special characters. So when I walked down the aisles, people were booing me. And 2 is, after 5 attempts, you got locked out. So the old ladies were booing me for a while. But length and complexity for a password. And 2 is, which nobody does, is what I do, because I'm that. Every 4 years, you got to, every 4 months, you got to change it. So if somebody got it, at least you're going to change it every 4 months. So most people don't do that. Length, complexity, changing, and don't use the same one for each. You need a different one for each device. Right. What you can do, we call it a template. You can use the same kind of general one, then take like the first 3 characters of that site you're using and put it on the end or something. So they kind of the same, but not the same, and you can keep, at least they're all different. So we call it doing a template effect on them.
Most definitely. I practice that as well. As that I learned that when I used to work not cybersecurity, but information security, right next to the security operations center of my old company. So I'm well aware, like, you're not supposed to, have a code that's, super short with, right. all lowercase with no numbers, right? Mm-hmm. That's the easiest ones to get hacked. But even if you do, the complex route, like even if you have a long password and stuff like that, what Professor BlackOps is saying is that they'll still be able to get that eventually.
Right.
And don't just go in there and just put like a different number added on to the end. Right. That's the easy way to get hacked as well. Because when they get that other one, they'll just put the different, change the number. And then it's not them physically putting in the number. It is a program that is going through many different permutations of your password, and then what'll happen is they'll find out your password at one place, then they go to your other social media, and it's the same exact thing. So you're always supposed to change it.
Facts.
Yeah. So the next question that I have for you, and then hopefully we get some more call-ins because we're coming up to our hour. So with that, um, what are some tips that you would give somebody who is, trying to get into uh, the tech industry? Like not necessarily just somebody trying to get into network security,
Mhm.
sorry, security compliance
Yeah,
analyst,
yeah.
just tech industry in general.
If you want to get in there too, is get your certifications. There's a Tech G's got a channel. Kev Tech is a beautiful channel. There's a lot of guys that teach you how to study for certs, because if you get your basic certs to get in ITF, Network Plus, and other there, a good place really is to start is the help desk. If you're new and you don't have any skills and you're trying to slide in, I would definitely get those basic certs. Help desk, which I worked a little bit, which sucks. You get customers start calling with these weird things. And once you do 3 or 4 months on a help desk, the company's familiar with you, then they'll let you transfer to a team you want to get in on. Usually, if you want to be, like you said, networking, programming, auditing. There's so many jobs, DBA work, but I think a good place to start is help desk if you don't have any skills, degrees. You can get those basic certs, and I think that'll get you in the door and get you started in technology.
Yes, sir. And I'm glad that you highlighted that, because a lot of people that I know think that getting into the tech industry is something that's so difficult that they just can't even do. Like they had to have a 4 year degree and all this other kind of stuff. But it really isn't like that.
No, I think the problem is, and I think you brought that up. You want to come in tomorrow and make six figures. That's the problem. You gotta grind. I always call it, you gotta get it out the digital mud, man. So I did a video where they shot me talking about my first internship. I was putting tapes on mainframes, wearing a suit with a parker on because the room was like 40 degrees. That's where I started at, man. So if you want to do basic, like I said, Kev Tech, Tech G, there's guys out there with those beginning videos, beginning certs that are beautiful, and get you into desktop support. And a lot of companies are always looking at desktop support because that's an entry-level job, burn you out. You come in, make about $23 an hour for 6 or 7 months. Then you in the door, you off and running, but that's going to get you in the door and get you rolling.
Most definitely. So you are actually a real life professor as well.
I am.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Real quick. Let me see. The reason I became a professor, long story short, is I have my own company. A guy was gracious enough to give me part of the government contract. But as well, you got to pay for your own insurance. Right. And I was married back then, and I was looking up basic COBRA insurance. It was like $1,500 a month. So long story short, a friend of mine was teaching, and she's like, "Oh, you teach a couple classes. This is a huge community college. They give you great, not great, but okay insurance." I was like, really? So I did it, and I really enjoyed it, and I like to give it back. So that's how I got it. And actually, you like this, I have an MBA. I actually started teaching business law. So I was in business law, and I really enjoyed it because I'm a different type of cat. Then once the cybersecurity department opened up, I reached out to them, and they welcomed me in, and I started teaching cyber. But I actually started off teaching business law. So that's actually how I got it. And I've been doing it for like almost a decade. The other cool thing about that is my son actually went to college for free for a while. So your kids can go, and I actually just put in a request to say my grandkids can go to where I teach for free. Then I told them, you don't have to go there. Just take your sociology, psychology, and all those low-level classes. You can take here for free. Then you can go somewhere else and whatever your major, because usually your major is only like 30 or 40 hours. So that other 90 hours you can take here for free and remotely. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do for my grandbabies right now. But that's how I got into teaching.
Yeah, that's great. Family man right here. Right. So right. I'm actually glad that you brought that up too. What's some of the because you said that you also did business law, you were teaching business law.
Yeah.
But what are all the I'm sure you probably have done a lot of classes, but what are some of the subjects that you have taught as a professor?
I haven't taught that many, to be honest. I taught business law. They don't even teach this anymore. When Obama last recession, he gave a lot of money. It used to be a business application where you taught Word, Excel, advanced macros. So I taught that for a while. I taught introduction to cybersecurity, forensics, advanced forensics, and Java. Those are the only classes I ever taught. I try to stay in my lane, man. I don't reach my teaching lane because I feel like I'm a SME in all those areas. So yeah, so this is my first semester actually teaching Java. So usually I teach Introduction to Computer Security, which I'm having class at 3. So if y'all want to come on after this, I'm gonna be on my channel at 3 teaching introductions and forensics and advanced forensics. Those are the things I teach.
Yes, sir. And also something that you said in there I wanted to kind of define is an SME, so a subject matter expert.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
he is a subject matter expert for a lot of those different topics that he is talking about. So most definitely,
I've done them in real life. I tell people if I don't do it in real life, I don't teach it. I've done Java off and on for like 5 years. So I actually wanted to start programming again because I'm going to spin up some Java applications in AWS because I'm working on my architecture skills. So I want to spin some apps up there, set up some VLAN, some networking, have people hit the website so I can work on my architecture skills. So that's one reason I did that.
Yes, sir. And also, so okay, I was looking at the chat. All right. So with that, I think that it's a good thing that you're going into this. Also, please, guys, go check out Professor BlackOps' channel on YouTube. He said that he's going to be having a class later on today as well. I don't see any call-ins coming up, so that's the case. We'll just keep on going. But what I want to do is ask you a question of do you actually like programming as like a hobby now? Like, do you just do programming like like a project by yourself? Nothing actually related to your actual profession.
No, I actually do. I help one of our teams do Java, so I go out there and review their code. It's called security coding. And long story short, one of the federal checks is 400 checks about your programming environment, agile, how do you get budgets, how you authentication, how you logging in, length of passwords, how often are we making them change those passwords. There's 400 checks. So I go out to the development teams with those checks. So I work with our Java teams called security coding. And I think you had that I don't want to spoil it. You had an OWASP top 10. Those are 10 questions to make sure that you don't have SQL injection, command injection, certain attacks on a web application or application period. So I try to keep my programming skills up. So it's actually called Purple Team Application Security is a detailed security environment or security subject. So yeah, no, I do that. So when I go out with those guys, I know the newest techniques. I know they're using Spring, Hibernate. They're connecting to this database. How are they connecting to the database? So I like to go back to the basics, right? So that's kind of me going back to basics. So when I talk to the programmers, that gives me, like we said, a SME status because I can say, yeah, I'm doing hibernating Spring like you. I've done this. So let's talk about this feature. Let's talk about this hack. Let's talk about the speed of your database. So that gives me instant credibility with those guys, right? Because I got to deal with all the teams. So, and the other thing too is that's really my first love. I like to create stuff, especially from a web application, and I can hit a button and see it work. I can insert it to the database. I can do a web service call, or I can make a tank go across the screen. That's something you can do with your hands. Like, it's kind of like woodworking for nerds. Like, I can put it in there. Ooh, I can see it work, right? I can see something completed. A lot of times when I do federal work, it's like, okay, I answer these 2-3 questions. I do this paperwork, but you don't see anything built and actually working. So I miss programming, but the bag is little in program compared to Black Heights. That's an 80K bag. We're trying to get a bigger bag. That's a little bag. So I miss programming. Once again, that's my first thing.
Yes, sir. And with that, do you think that that security actually makes more money? Like going into cybersecurity makes more money than being a programmer?
Way more. Now your top programmers, like your architects that set it up, but your head programming that's probably gonna be at the same as a junior security person.
That's great because I'm glad that you actually brought that up. So makes you think, right? It's like, which one do you want to go into?
Like I said, I love programming, man, but I like to eat, man. I like to eat. I like to have steak a lot. So that security bag, man, especially with 2 or 3 years, I mean, you definitely jumping off 100 easy, man. And then you know, with all the hacks and the government's coming out talking about zero trust networks, so they telling business, and especially government agencies, how they want you to operate, and it's just. And two is programs becoming easier with tools, with IDEs, with frameworks, right? When I was coming in, you had to write like every line of code. Now I get Java, Spring Hibernate, Hibernate's gonna help me go to the database. Spring's gonna worry about my transactions. So they do a lot of that boilerplate template programming. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just kind of go into your domain knowledge of how you calculate insurance or real estate, right? You don't have to do that boilerplate of how am I connected to the database? The framework will take care of that for you. So program is becoming easier, and I think it's kind of driving down their prices. And real quick, I freelance on Upworks. I try to do some Oracle Upwork, which in the United States, you can get 84. People, Africa, India, they was charging like $20 an hour. I'm like, dude, I don't open up my laptop for 20. I'm sorry, that sounds kind of arrogant. I apologize, but I don't open my laptop for 20. So now you compete against around the world, because if you go to Fiverr and Upworks, you can put work out there. And I was surprised when I looked what they were charging for programmers on there. Now, I don't think they're as good, some of that stuff, but they were charging some super low stuff. Even when I go out there for security, I do some stuff on that domain is still pretty decent.
Yeah, with that, man, you brought up so many points. Is that a lot of companies like to get people from India, they like to outsource their work. On average, how many people? Like, I want to give like I guess like a ratio. So is it like let's say you have 10 people working on a team. How many people are those? Would they be contractors from that have been outsourced from another country?
It depends, right, on what type of work you do and what kind of industry you do. But that's one reason I'm in the federal space, because a lot of times is you can't send your work overseas if you're doing it for the government. It's CONUS. It's got to be in the continental U.S. when you're doing stuff for the citizens, right? So that's one reason I stay in this space. But if you're talking industry, any industry, real quick, if you could Google this, I think IBM has 25,000 people in India. Oracle had 15, and I think Microsoft's got 30,000 programmers in India. So they're letting you know they're sending that work off-site. But on a real government project where I work now, now I want to say 30% of that workforce is foreign. India, Russia, Turkey. One of my homies is from Brazil. So you're going to have a big foreign contingent on there. And in India, that's kind of their main thing their citizens wants to do is programming. That's real big in India. And most of those guys are trained here. And if you go on YouTube and you do cybersecurity or programming, you get a ton of Indian videos, because they're eating all that up, man.
Yes, and that's actually funny that you say that. Is that that's why I'm in the data engineering space, and every time I look into data engineering, they only talk about, they only have Indian people who may not be even speaking in English, and they put that as my like competitors on vidIQ and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas that's the only people who really talking about a lot of these things outside of like the big companies. Like Google has like information on data engineering, but then they also for like the regular people, it's just foreign countries.
There's only one guy I know in the manosphere. I'm gonna cut it down to the manosphere. That's engineering cannabis. He was on mine. He does more AI machine learning, and he does bring the data part in there because it kind of looks. That's the only guy I really know that's in the manosphere is pushing that, because he wants to do a collab with me. And he was like, how are we going to get people in artificial intelligence and machine learning and robotics? I'm like, engineer, I'm trying to get people in the help desk, man. But like we talked about, that's thinking on the next level. But that actually, I mean, we've been trying to hash that up and figure out how to do that.
Right. And I'm glad that you brought that up too, because like help desk jobs, they actually it's not gonna be like $100,000 a year or anything.
Oh, no. That's your jumping point though. That's your jump off. That's your jump off. That's your foothold in. And like I said, after 6 months, if I'm helping you, you helping them, or Black Kite's helping them, whoever, we got you jumping out. That's the diving board. That's gonna spring you going. But you got to get in the door. We got to get you in the door somehow. It's not magic. And two is that's a good place to get in the door. Number one is if you tier one help desk, you can't mess anything up. Even if you tell somebody wrong, you just said, "Oh, I'm still learning," or "My script was wrong." Right? That's a good place to start and a good place to get in. But like you said, that's just the jump off board. It's the springboard.
Exactly. And then I have two more questions for you, and I think I'll let you on your way.
Let me know. I can keep going, man. I can keep going.
I know you got to prepare for your.
No, I'm good, man. I got 2 hour schedule, man. I've been teaching for a decade. I did those slides a couple days ago, peeked at them. I done them about 50 times. I'm good, man. I devoted this time for you. It's your call, man.
Man, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. But so next question: do you think it's harder for people to get into the tech industry now that they are outsourcing a lot of these jobs? A lot of these companies outsourcing these jobs.
I think it's a plus and minus. I don't think it's hard. I think it's easier because the question we had before is I work with a lot of elitists. We are all kind of changing over to accept certs. And 10 years or 15 years ago, if you just had a cert, they weren't going to let you in, especially in the cybersecurity with a cert. So now I think if you study, get your cert, and there's so many ways to lab, there's so many open source products. I'm thinking about doing an internship. I know Kev Tech is doing internships on his channel to help people get experience, to help them get in the door. And two is Gabe A was reaching out to people if you had certain experiences. He was trying to walk people's resume to hiring managers. And there's just so many people on YouTube that's trying to help. So I think it's way easier. And two is there seem to be more jobs. I don't know if it's hotter now or just IT is just more prevalent throughout the United States and the world, right? You're Mark Zuckerberg, going down. People were getting crazy because Facebook was out. So I think technology is just spread out more even, and there's more job opportunities. Now you're gonna have competition out there, but hey, I'm all about competition. And two is there's just so many. Like I said, you can do cloud, database, help desk, web server, ad server, Linux, Windows. Like I said, I do paperwork, compliance. There's just so many opportunities in IT. And like you said, the soft skills that I suck at, project manager, product owner, he was naming all those. And I work with those guys, BAs and PM, project manager, product owner. All those guys make 6 figures. So there's a lot more jobs, I think, in IT. So I think it's more.
Right. And then I see that JT Coin Rings is saying, I wish I learned about this when I was in school. And that's the thing is that now they don't really teach you all these things to go into school.
But it's a little different though, because PWIs, especially charter schools, they got kids programming at 8, 9 years old, man. That's doing Python, man. We were talking about this thing on Tone Talk. It was a private, expensive school. They had this ball that these 4-year-olds were programming, and the ball would actually roll, and you had to give it the degrees to turn left and right. And as you were doing it, then on your iPad, it would be eating mushrooms. But you would write like basically a code. But the class was like, the school was like $30,000 a year. It was something crazy. But they were teaching these little babies kind of how to program. So we were talking about, are we getting left behind? So they teaching programming earlier and earlier. And two is, so I was talking about my grandkids. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have y'all have Security Plus, Network Plus, and A Plus by the time y'all graduate out of high school, man. So y'all at least have basic skills.
Exactly. I'm glad that you brought that up. So, you said in a previous live stream that you have run multiple businesses in the past, and also you are still in you said that you are in the government sector.
Yes, that's my main job.
Yes, that's your main job, and then also you have you're a professor as well.
Yeah, I teach at night. I teach night course. I teach Java right now, and I'm going to teach advanced forensics. I was catching up on it, but so yeah, I teach at night. Then also I freelance. I go out to Upwork or Fiverr. I'm trying to be greedy, get a little consultant money. What I'm trying to do though is I'm thinking about that. I'm gonna take a couple interns off of YouTube, win a couple projects on Upworks doing compliance work, which is paperwork, and let them help me. Then they'll get experience to try to get into cybersecurity doing compliance. I'm thinking about it, I haven't done. And like Black Heights, I dabble in real estate. So those are the things I do. But I'm single, man. I'm old. Nobody want me, man. So I got plenty of times on my hands.
Right. So with that, I want everybody in the chat to do this really quickly. Please put in hashtag #BeforeTheBillions. Hashtag #BeforeTheBillions for the giveaway today. For the giveaway, I will be giving you a shout out in the next live stream and or video. Please put in hashtag #BeforeTheBillions. Also, I want to give a shout out to our previous winner of the giveaway. Shout out to United Fitness. Shout out to United Fitness. Roger of United Fitness, the man on the bike. He is a great content creator. Please, everybody, go check him out. Also, #BeforeTheBillions, hashtag #BeforeTheBillions is all one word. Please have it as all one word so that way I can put you in to the giveaway and you will be able to get your shout out on the next live stream. So I will be doing that in a few minutes. So you have a few minutes. You have I'll give you 5 minutes, everybody 5 minutes in order to enter into the giveaway. All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so we've had a great discussion about, business, you being a professor, you switching to different careers within the IT space, all related to IT. So if for whatever reason, I know that you have your I know that you have your experience, but have you ever been laid off before?
I have not. I've been just super lucky. I have not. I always left my current assignment out. I've just never been laid off. I've just been lucky that I've been always one of the top consultants. I've been on my grind. So they let the lower level consultants, and usually like my last 3 jobs, they were asking me to stay, but I was like, no, y'all laid off like 90% of your souls. I don't trust you. So I left. So the cool thing is, like you brought up a lot of times, if you're a top consultant, like my current employer and my contract's up, they offer me a full-time equivalent job, right? If I want to come work for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So no, I've just been lucky. I've never been laid off. I've never been laid off.
Right. Now, for me, I've been laid off many times. So I've been laid off probably like 4 times, man. It's not a fun thing at all.
I couldn't even, like I said, I couldn't even, I couldn't even fathom that, man. Especially like you said, if the timing's wrong and you got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, yeah, and especially, if you got I've seen grown men with families cry, man, and ask why they were getting laid off and ask them if they could get them a month worth of severance, man. And the company just basically told them no. So I've seen it, man.
So you probably can give any insight into. I was about to ask you a question related to if you lost your job, what would you do in the meantime while you're interviewing?
Oh, you can ask me that because it's part of cybersecurity, and I didn't bring this up. Okay. It's called contingency planning. It's called disaster recovery. So when something goes wrong with a computer system, you need to be able to roll over to a site. Or if your building gets hit by a plane, you need to know where your people are going to work. That's one thing. It's called business continuity. That if something happens to your business, how are you going to operate? I do that for small businesses too. So no, I always think about that. Okay, if I get laid off today, what would be my move? Number one, because I'm old, I got about a 20-point network of guys I know workplace. So I always hit them up and be like, are you doing okay? What's the pay? What's doing all right? You would like this. This sound arrogant. One of my homies reached out. He said, man, this dude this job only paid $95,000. I don't know if you want to take it. Right. So I get a luxury where I could probably reach out to 10 people and I could have 10 job offers. And 2, I said I do Upworks and Fiverr. So if I got laid off, I would just really start getting more consulting work. Right now, I'm picking out 2 or 3. I would try to do 10. Right. Mm-hmm. 2 is I got a little passive income through real estate. So I'm pretty close to that, being able to cover my expenses. Right. So I think about that. I'm because I've been doing IT and, like I said, disaster recovery and business continuity. I always think if I get sick and I can't work for 3 months, what's the play? Right. Or if I get hit, if I get laid off, what's the play? Or if something happened, if somebody give me on some BS and I get locked up for 30 days until I get my attorney, who's gonna pay my bills? Who can call? Who's gonna bail me out? I got to get bail, right? Because people get, people get arrested on a humble, right? Probably 20% of the people you can get arrested unjustly, right? They don't care why you locked up. You got to still defend yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little paranoid. So now I've got those contingencies set up. So my son and my lawyer knows what needs to happen if something like that happens. So now I've actually walked through those scenarios.
Right. So also I want to give this disclaimer that this is not legal.
Facts.
Nor medical advice.
Facts, all of that. We need to get the TLA sign-off form, the waiver.
Right. Yeah,
facts, 100%. This is business continuity, how to make moves, but it's about my life. No advice to you. You got to make your own decisions in life. But yeah.
Right. We need Jessica X in here to talk about privacy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, privacy. I like that, the privacy. No, facts. So yeah, but I tell people to do that too. You should be trying to chart out what you want to do in the next 10 to 15 years. And on the other side of something, if you get laid off, if you get sick, if you get falsely arrested, which shouldn't happen, low probability, but you at least need to know what happened because like Facebook, I promise you, they've been practicing those outages. We practice from the government. You got to practice once a year on act like you got hacked or if all your routers go. So they practice that so you're not running around totally confused. You kind of like, who do you report to? Who you need to know? And sometimes you got to report to the federal government or even the state you're working in, right? So they know all that out because they've been practicing it.
Right. All right, guys. I'm about to go ahead and roll the giveaway in 1 minute. JT Coinrings, please put in hashtag BeforeTheBillions as one word. I see that you put it in as separate words and it's not letting me put you in as eligible for the giveaway. So please go ahead. Everybody who's in the chat who can hear my voice, please go ahead and put hashtag BeforeTheBillions. As soon as you type in hashtag, put in the B and the E, then BeforeTheBillions will auto type for you. So just wanted to make sure that you guys get that. You get 1 minute. So that is at 1:08. All right, so let me go ahead on to my next question for you. But so you brought up the OWASP top 10, and I know that people were also, somebody asked in the comment section in the previous live stream, is that which one, in your opinion, is more important? Do you think that it is more important for companies to acquire data? That's one, acquire data. Be able to secure that data. Number two, be able to process that data as number three. Which one out of those three would be more important for a company to do?
I'm always gonna go with secure because if you ain't got no data, you can't process it or collect it, I guess. So I always say secure. I guess you can collect it and lose it. And if you lose it, you might get sued. So I'm gonna say security. that's my thing. Now, if you said make money on the data, money always comes first. But for those three you gave me, I would say security.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, I didn't know that you actually can get sued for that. That's interesting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's touch on that. If you look up HIPAA data, HIPAA's the most expensive data. If the government's sending you payments for it. So if you're getting Social Security or you're in a hospital and the government's paying part of it because you know your mom's on Social Security, one of those is you have to protect your data at a certain level. There's 4 levels of fines. You can Google this. If you did a good job and your security is pretty good and the government check it, it's like a nation state that was good, they might charge you $50 a record or $100 a record, right? But still, if you got, that's $100 a record and you got 4 million records, that's $400 million. But if you negligent, meaning you didn't do anything, I've seen it up to $1,025 a record. So if you do that times, a couple million, you at $1 billion. You're done. You're done. If you look at states, I'm in Indiana, Chicago, and California's using GDPR. If you lose more than 1,000 records of Californians, you got to let the state general attorney know, and he's going to assess you a fine. Mm-hmm. So no, states are taking that very seriously because they think people are being sloppy. So depending on what record, and when they ask you for your paperwork, if your paperwork's sloppy, they're going to bill you for being negligent. So you can get up to 100 for, like I said, HIPAA's $1,000 a record the last time I looked. So no, you can, if you lose records, depending on the information, you definitely going to get a fine.
That's interesting. So that actually changed one of my previous stances on things, because now, I speak. When you speak to a professional on something, you be learning so many things. You're like, what? Dang, I never thought of it like that. And that's exactly what insightful means, is being able to see things that other people aren't able to see. So I'm about to go ahead and. Okay.
But I'm gonna jump in. But that's what a SME is, right? When you hire a SME, you expect them to give you insight, give you advice, and tell you things you don't know. That's why you pay them that bag, right? That's why you bring. And I tell people, I'm good in my lane, but my homies, man, I can't fix a car. I can barely take the damn tire off a car, man. I am not. I got SMEs on my team to help me with that, man. So I try to stay in my lane, but. Like we talked about, you need to work on your craft, be serious about your craft so you can be a SME, so you can get the big bag. That's really what it's all about. You just hit it on the nail. My job is to help my customers and the agencies I know with stuff like that. So I'm in meetings with CIOs, CEOs, CFOs, right? Because when you buy, if you buy software, even if it's for the CFO, we got to make sure it's secure. We got to make sure it's not leaking data. We got to make sure it can pass DoD certification, right? Because if it gets hacked, that's what they're going to ask for. Even though it's for accounting, it's got to pass security because we put information in there for the government.
So I'm about to go ahead and roll the giveaway. Let me get my drum roll. And rolling. We have emerged with Sheila Hadessa. There we go. Okay, so we have emerged with Sheila Hadessa. Thank you so much. You have won the giveaway for today, and you will be. Thank you for participating. You will be shouted out on our next live stream and or video. So just like how United Fitness has been shouted out on this specific live stream, in this interview, you will be shouted out in our next live stream. Thank you so much for participating.
I got a quick question for you when you get a chance.
Yes, sir.
On my channel, I'm going to start talking about cybersecurity from a society privacy question. So the question to you and all the people in the chat is your email, right? The government looks through your email to figure out stuff about terrorists, people stealing money, and other things, right? So I tell my classes, it's cool if we stop the government for doing that, but when the government don't catch the next terrorist, don't blame the government, because we call it going dark, because you got encryption and you use a VPN. If the government doesn't have the keys, they can't catch the bad guys. So are you cool with the government going through some of your social media and your email?
Oh, yeah, I am. Okay. Also, we have somebody coming into the live stream. Okay. She stole my thunder. Thank you so much.
Shout out to her.
Let's see. Hey, she stole my thunder. Can you hear and or see us?
Hello.
Hey, she stole my thunder. How are you doing?
Good. Just give me a second. I'm going to mute the other channel I have.
Okay. I enjoyed your stream yesterday. I was checking it out as I was driving.
Yeah, that was a 5-hour long live stream, man.
Yeah, I didn't catch it all. Like I said, I was like, man, it's still on.
It was only a 5-hour live stream. Come on, man. It's a small little live stream. You and I, we all do that in 2 minutes flat. It's not a problem.
I'm getting old, but I love Marvel. When y'all hit the Marvel stuff, I got excited for a minute. I like that part. But what can we do for you?
Well, hey, look, if ever you want to join, we could always set up another collab with the three of us talking solely about Marvel movies. I admit that my Marvel movie knowledge is very weak, but hey, that's always something we can talk about. Not a problem. Sorry, go ahead.
I just, anytime, whatever Before the Billions want to do, I'll support him. That's all I'm going to say. He the man, I'll support him.
Excellent, excellent. But I didn't catch all of what you were saying, so sorry if my question may be, something that you already touched upon. But I was, I know that you're into cybersecurity and all that, and I know that for a lot of governments or countries or even just internal companies that have various standards as to what would make it a document compliant, like there's ISO and all that, right? Is for the HIPAA laws in the US, what are those standards? Is there a regulatory board that you have to submit your documents to or something like that would make it, like, I know there's obviously you have to keep it safe, but is there like a standard of, okay, the document has to look like this, et cetera, et cetera?
It is. Okay. It is. If you Google HIPAA, what theirs is weird, and I think it's too weak for the hospital. But if you Google HSS, it's Health and Hospital. They're actually the oversight agency for HIPAA. They give you documentations telling you what encryption level you need to use, what keys you need to lose, like Before the Billions. I think they're the length of your password. So they give you all this documentation for HIPAA. Then usually what happens is they do it in reverse. They trust that you have it, but as soon as you get hacked, Health and Hospital is going to come and see you and ask you for this paperwork, which I think is weird. They should go out, like I do a lot of work for the IRS. They actually come on site every 3 years and look at your computer system and it actually give you a grade. So depending on the level of importance, and each industry has their own compliance standards, but yeah, so that's it. So they tell you how to do different things, DOD. I did one on FERPA for kids in education. So yeah, they kind of walk through you to you and tell you what policies and procedures, incident response, like I said, passwords, how to lock down your computer. So they tell you in documentation of what you need to do to, they call it ATL, to get authority to operate in that particular domain industry.
Okay, cool. And just a quick question, FERPA, I imagine that's the privacy laws for children, I imagine?
For education.
For education,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's for education, and they tell you how to protect kids' information, because you got their address, their social security number. A lot of times you have their health. If they're, I'm not going to say the V word, but that. So you keep those records in there. So they want you to keep. And then when kids matriculate from middle school to high school, even different schools, how do you need to transfer data to keep that data safe for the babies? And the one thing that came out that I was surprised when I did my research is, makes sense. A lot of them have psychological issues, so that goes in their file. So you don't want to protect it. You don't want that information getting out. If your kids got psychological problems, and so the school has documentation on that too.
Of course. Wasn't there something fairly recently in the news about
I think it was
violations?
It was. Somebody did something, yeah. So yeah, FERPA. So yeah, long story short, on my channel, I'm trying to go through all the certifications and did a quick video. So one of them was FERPA, privacy, HIPAA, IRS. So yeah, those are one. I'm gonna do one FedRAMP. That's for federal cloud security. So I think it's 10 of them. So I'm gonna do a short video on each one of those. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. No, and it does, all of this also does link in as well to what you were asking before about, is it okay for the government to be in your emails? Because at some point we expect a certain amount of privacy. We expect to, if I'm sending you an email about, hey, let's collab, you and I don't expect the government to be in that kind of email, but at one point,
I do. You are mistaken. I do. You're mistaken. But that's the question, and that's why I gave it Before the Billions. They need to vote on that. They're gonna start voting on that stuff. How much privacy are you willing to give up? Because the government right now went to Facebook, Google, and all the big. They want the keys to be able to read your post. Right now they can do that, but they have to give them a warrant. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, that's I guess I missaid it in a way. We don't if I send you an email, I don't expect, full privacy. I expect somebody somewhere to be snooping. You know what I mean? But, I don't think it's every single email either. You know what I mean? We have a certain amount of ignorance to just the level of it, the frequency, by whom, you know what I mean? So it's like we don't look at it as a day-to-day, occurrence, you know what I mean? So it's like
I'm in this business, so I do, and I promise you, a lot of people don't realize this. I've been at major companies in the cybersecurity room where you working on your desk. We looking at what you working on. We were looking at VPs gambling at their desk. We were looking at young men looking at porn at their desk. So I promise you, a lot of your major companies, because if you do something wrong on company time that affects something, the person's gonna sue you and the company because the company has oversight of you.
Oh wow!
I know that doesn't sound right. I know people don't like that, but I asked my why we fired a little dude in the stock room from looking at porn, but this executive's VP's gambling on company time. He goes, the little guy on porn, you know, you can't do that. The VP, he made $2 million last year, so we just gonna send him an email to tell him to stop, but we gonna fire the little guy. I'm like, come on, man, that ain't right. But no, so I just want people under privacy. Those are the things you need to start thinking of, as even in Canada and United States. What does that look like?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. Canada obviously has very different privacy laws than the US does. But it's a very different. And I know a lot of countries want to model their privacy laws after ours because it is very stringent, very developed, and there's a whole like, okay, you have to do this, this, and this. But the second like you said, like if I send an email, because obviously I use Gmail, I think because of the whole Snowden thing, it's shown that, okay, my email that I'm sending to you in the US, it goes through other different countries. And because it goes through other different countries, automatically it's subject to a whole set of different laws where, like you said, the government can come in and, let's see what she sold their thunder is right into Professor BlackOps because, we don't want to, what if they're a terrorist or something happens, you know what I mean? So it's crazy when you think about it and when you know, I mean, to me, a lot of people didn't really like what Edward Snowden did, but I didn't realize the level that the government was in it. Of course, because that's your business. But for me, I'm just a public person that just I'm not so naive to think that the government never is in our private business, but you didn't realize the depth, the iceberg of it. You know what I mean? Right. We only see the tip of it, but not the full, you know.
Right. The thing is, like we talked about IT, was AI does it. So if you say something like bomb New York in a certain statute, your name's going to come up in somebody's inboxes, right? So they're trying to figure out if that's it. But you just hit on something that a lot of people don't realize. That's the next big bag is privacy, because what she said is if you're a multinational company, and this guy, I'm gonna bring on my channel. He's got 4 businesses in 4 countries. So now he's got to figure out privacy in Canada, privacy in Europe, privacy in the United States, and privacy in Mexico. And they're all different, right? So now he's got to take 4 different countries' privacy and trying to meld them together in this big program. And a lot of large multinational companies are struggling with that now because of GDPR. The union, their stuff is super hard, and the California just adopted it. So we believe that's the next big bag, especially if you're not technology savvy, is trying to figure out how that's going to look like. Like we said, if that email travels through 4 different nations, each one of those nations compliance is goes on that email. How do you handle that as a multinational company? And some of my executives, we got to keep their email for 7 years. Right, because for the government, because they're an executive, and if they're doing nefarious stuff or broker and dealing, they want you to keep their mail for 7 years. So if it's going through 4 countries, Canada could be 3 years, we could be 7, Europe could be 8. So you gotta they call it harmonize all those compliances across those nations for your company.
Right. Thank you.
One second, because we have a sponsor of today's live stream.
Cool.
Shout out to Antoine Wade of Black Heights, advancing your career. Thank you so much, Antoine Wade, a big supporter of the channel.
Shout out to my man.
Yeah, shout out to Antoine Wade. So, yes. Also, we have Tam in the building. Shout out to Tam. She's also agreeing with you, Professor BlackOps, because she is also an experience.
Shout out, yeah.
Yes, so she's also experienced within the tech industry as well, and she is saying GDPR is also a separation of data archives.
Facts.
Yes,
facts. Like I said, we've been going off talking about data archive, and like I said, I've been guy I'm cool with, he's working on a multinational firm. So sometimes, so I can get better, I start kind of helping him. And like she said, GDPR and retention, and two, when you can destroy the data and how you can destroy emails. And it's a whole different thing. Long story short, for government, if you destroy a server, you got to drill 3 holes in the disk and write a attestation stating you did it and sign it. So there's different levels of that stuff. So it could get super detailed.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. She's talking about that. Did you have any other questions for Professor BlackOps or me, either or?
Not at the moment. I don't mind going into the background if you need me, or leaving. Either way, it's I stated my piece so far. So
that's cool.
No, that's all right. I think we're gonna try and wind it down. Tam, if you wanted to jump up and also give your perspective, or we probably could do a live stream together as well, some sort of collaboration. So I also be open to that as well. But
yeah, I think she's got a company called E-Waste, I believe. Yeah, we use I think it's Shredded It. So yeah, like she said, when you that's another thing, and she's bring it up, and we didn't touch on much, is when you use third-party companies or outside companies, you need to make sure they follow the same security procedures you're doing. Mm-hmm. So if you're calling somebody to shred for you, drill holes in it, shred CDs, they got to be at the same security level as you, right? Because you give them your information, right? So the government said they made a mistake. They wanted you to shred paper. I think it was a quarter cut, diamond cut for shred. But the paper became so thin, people were actually inhaling it, and their lungs was getting messed up because they were shredding the paper so thin they had to rethink about it. So the government gets real specific about a lot of things, like even shredding diamond cut for paper. So a lot of so there's a lot of regulations you need to follow, especially in that federal space.
Most definitely. Let's see. Let me read through the chat really quickly. I say we do one more giveaway so I can win.
Good luck.
Shout out to Vlog Guy, his wife, their life.
Thanks.
And no, there's no more giveaways for this live stream. All right. So I think that's it for our comments in the comment section. Again, we have our winner of the giveaway, Emerged by Sheila Edessa. Thank you so much for participating in today's giveaway. And also shout out to She Stole My Thunder for coming through and asking those questions as well. And also, where would I be if I didn't give a shout out to our special guest today, Professor BlackOps? Thank you so much for joining. Professor BlackOps, is there anything else that you wanted to give as far as like tips that people should follow who are in the live chat now, and also who will be watching the replay?
Oh yeah, just a few tips. Once again, thanks for having me. Thanks for sharing your platform. I see you're gonna do big things, young man. That's the last time I call you young man, but I see you doing big things. So I want to definitely come up and support it. Like I brought up before, is when you subscribe to a service, a la cameras in your house or thermostats, whatever you put on the internet, I always think if a hacker hacks it, right? They got the pictures of you walking around. They can turn your thermostat up. So I always think of it on both sides, right? Be the CEO of your life. Accept the risk. Just understanding if somebody hacks it, what is it going to look like? Then cool. The other part about that is IT and cybersecurity is a great discipline and career to get into. Now you can get in with career degrees, certs, internships. There's a lot of ways to get in this business. There's a lot of great YouTube channels out here that give you information. Before the Buildings giving you IT and business and crypto. He give you a plethora of situations in the game. So two is, I promise you, man, I worked in some of the biggest industries with the smartest people. It's a bell curve. 10% of your people are going to be just brilliant. 20% of your people are going to be dumbasses. You're going to be somewhere in the middle. Don't have imposter syndrome. Don't be nervous. Just study your craft, lab every day, and just grind. It's yours to get. I'm 53. I got about another 10 years. I'm about to get this cloud bag and just slide on in there. My brother Antoine, if he's in there, that young brother been giving me so much game. Like, I think I was capping myself out prematurely. So Even me in 30 years in the game, I got to rethink some stuff. So once again, you can reach out to me, Black Heights, Kev Tech, Before the Billions. There's plenty of guys out here that wants to help you. People charge you a very nominal amount. I don't charge anything, but I probably send you to one of those other guys once I give you my tip, because you should take all the information you can in. So if a guy's going to charge you $30 or $50 to give you some game, reach in your pocket and get it, man. That's all I got. Support my man Before the Billions. Every time I look at him, I was like, man, that was me in 1986. I was skinny. So subscribe to my man, and I really enjoyed it. Anytime you need me, man, just reach out to me. I got your back, man.
Yes, sir. And thank you so much. I'm gonna leave you up here in case you want to talk any longer or have any other questions for me. I'm about to go ahead and close out the stream. All right, give me 1 second. All right, guys. With that being said, I appreciate every single person for joining in on this live stream and also in the replay. Overall, I think that this was a great session, a great live stream. We learned a lot. We had a chance to speak with somebody who has over 30 years experience within the tech industry and is willing to help out all of the people who are watching this live stream. So if you don't mind, please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I hope that everybody has learned something new today, gained some new insight, and is looking forward to some more content like this. I will be doing some more interviews. Usually it's going to be on Sundays at 12 p.m. So that's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you should be able to tune in. And then I'll always have a call-in session at the end of the live stream. So shout out to our caller of the day. She stole my thunder. And also shout out to the sponsor of the video, Antoine Wade of Black Heights, Advancing Your Career. Thank you all so much, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.
This is me. This is who I was before the billions. Before I made the money.